Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're at a kids park in El Cajon area, and we have a friend from non-compliance that we're just kind of trying to see if we can having a conversation and then kind of share about military life before, in between, and then after. And then kind of like what we can provide and then you can take away from type of deal. So do you want to do a quick background sharing, like what was your rate and how long were you in, overall experiences?
Sure. I'm Gabriel TJ Tyron. I was an IT1 when I discharged. I started off as a deck seaman and I struck radioman. That's how long ago I was in. And then we transferred into becoming ITs, and it was a lot of changes between 1995 and 2014. I loved my time in. It wasn't always fun, but the people made all the difference. I work with some excellent people.
Funny thing is that he's from this neighborhood.
Yes.
So he grew around this park.
I went to high school at Grossmont High School, which is a few blocks, just a couple miles away. It's just, this is really surreal for me.
So basically you were an IT, right?
Yes.
As far as IT, do you enjoy your career for itself, like, working on computer networks and stuff?
The computers were fun. Networks were pretty amazing. I've made a lot of friends along the way. The technical side of it was always challenging, and it was rewarding to give someone a good customer service experience. If someone's email wasn't working right, or they saw something strange or fishy, I'd help them out with that, and I knew that I was helping them communicate with their families. That meant the world to me. It's one of those jobs that kind of transcends. You're helping people have a good quality of life. It's more than just sending out emails and surfing the internet. It's big. That just did it for me.
In between, from 0 to 10, how much would you recommend this rate?
For IT, the only reason why I'm not saying 10 is because where it becomes a 9.5, everything's great when everything's working. But as soon as something breaks, they blame the ITs. We can't help that. There was, clouds in the way of the satellite. I'm sorry, But other than that, it's probably one of the best jobs in the Navy I ever had. And plus, if you want to work with, Navy SEALs, there's ITs that do that. You want to work secretive spy stuff, there's ITs who tag along with stuff like that. If you want to do ships, there's always a ship out there. There's always something to learn.
You did like the whole 20 year, or did you just like separate it, whatever?
Well, I did separate. I found this out. I was on a CPAP, and yes, the Navy at some point did have to say, we're going to have to let you go. But I did 19 years.
Damn,
I stayed in for as long as I could. I rode that ship, the last ship I was on, for as long as I could. I loved it. The travel is unbeatable. You're never going to travel as much with anybody else than if you're in the Navy. It's just amazing.
So after your Navy journey, did you get another career, or do you just like retire? Or?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I decided to go to seminary, to be pastoring churches. I did that for a while. I've also done retail. I've sold cars. I just got out there and just enjoyed life. I drive for Uber now, and I am relaxing for a living. It's great. I love driving. I drove 18 hours here to be here and hoped I would meet this great guy.
Thank you. The Navy life and then the civilian life, what do you think is the most difference?
The only thing about the civilian life and Navy life that's really different, it's really challenged for our sailors of every rank, is that while you're in the Navy, you forget that it's the people that make all the difference, all the friends you have, and all the relationships you make along the way. It's easy when you're working, 10, 12-hour days, sometimes through the night. You don't see it, but it's challenging to think that there's friends that you've made and that there's people that you're serving alongside with. They make all the difference in the world. When you're out in the civilian world, they thrive on nothing but relationship. The challenging thing is remembering that you have to understand these people who are in the uniform. They're not just a floating uniform. There's a person inside that uniform.
Yeah, that's true.
They all have needs. We all have a job to do. And the more maturely you can accept that officer or that chief has these demands, it wasn't even him or her who got up that morning and decided they were going to mess with you. Really what it was is the job came down and you happen to be the most qualified person they can get. It's a challenge, but it's worth it.
It's interesting you said that. To recap, right? So it's really the people who you're working with. Like for me, when I first joined for the jet bill to go to college, time flew by. I was stationed in Japan, and then when you're stationed in Japan, you're forward deployed. So we deploy every 6 months out of a year. I did 2 years and a half in Japan without me even realizing it. It's already time for me to decide, hey, stay in or get out. I was like, I love this lifestyle. I travel a lot, but I didn't even think about college at the moment. All I did was like, I love the time serving. I love the people I hang out with. I was drinking around Southeast Asia, bar hopping, paid by the Navy. So that life was good. And then people I work with, they were also awesome people. That's kind of what made me decided to stay in. So I re-enlisted. What was your most memorable moment you would like to share?
I hid a secret from an entire frigate full of people. because I was on port lookout in the Mediterranean and the ship decided to stop. The captain wanted a swim call. My department head was the officer of the deck. I'm watching all my friends get to go swimming. I was so jealous. I was so mad. Perfect day to go swimming. And then I'm just watching out for sharks around there, and then I noticed something coming out the back of the ship. I looked down there, checked again, and then I asked my department head, "Sir, did you turn off CHT?" And that's all of our sewage just floating out there with all my shipmates, and they're swimming around in it. He said some curse word, and then he stepped off the bridge and ran down to engineering because he didn't want to make a phone call and he didn't want to get caught with it. I saw him come back up 5 minutes later. I said nothing, he said nothing, and I kept that secret for about 12 years until I was on my second ship, and I happened to see one of my buddies. We were both first classes by that time, and that was just amazing. Of course, we traveled a lot, but I got the ultimate comeuppance, and that I got to be like, yep, I watched you guys swim in it, and I didn't.
For me, it's the lowest period of my time, right? It was like on the GW, right? George Washington.
Finest ship in the fleet.
Yeah, it was just working 12 on 12 off.
Yes.
Repeating itself. I was like a zombie, and I have nothing to look forward to. Our captain already said, yeah, we're not going to hit any port, right? We're going to be at sea for 2 months, right? We are not going anywhere. But yeah, that was kind of my lowest moment of my time in the Navy, so.
Those beer days can be difficult.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, I was a working night check, right? So we work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I'm not gonna wake up in the middle of the day just to go drink some warm beer. So I didn't even get to get the beer during the beer day. So yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Do you have any like kids?
Yes. While I was married, 2 kids. They're still with me now. My first child we had while I was on shore duty in San Diego. And then my second child, I had him when I was on my second ship. For most of my career, I was married with family, and they kept me grounded quite a bit.
I got Eva right here too. Do you want to join the conversation? Oh! Back in the day, do you have negotiating orders, location or ships you can choose or apply for?
You should start looking at where you want to live and what your life is going to have, because if you ask in advance, if you make the right phone calls, you can be stationed very close to some of the best places you want if you start negotiating 13 to 12 months early. Now, this isn't on the detailers. There's actually congressional funding that goes into making a sailor transfer someplace. So if you ask early and ask often, you'll be surprised what you can get. Before the regs even come out, some people are already selected for certain areas. One of the things for ITs was if you were on the East Coast, you didn't know what you wanted, you could always ask for Nick Tam's land and you got it. Okay? You have to negotiate early, and I tell people, especially people who are about to go into the service, because I see a lot of young veterans all the time, pick where you want your life to be. If you don't like California, then don't ever come out here. You know, have your chain of command understands that. And sometimes a phone call from your chief will really grease the skids for you. One time I had a chief make a phone call, and I had orders from Virginia to San Diego, and those hardly ever happen. So yeah, it worked out pretty good.
For your kids, like growing up, like do they have any challenges, like kind of adapting to the area?
When they're young, they'll get by easily. It's when they're getting to junior high and high school, you really want to think about setting them up for college. While they're young, up to 5th grade, they can have a great time. You know, the military is very flexible with those options there. Whether you want to do school on base or out in town. When they're finally becoming high schoolers, it becomes more of a challenge, and you might have to sacrifice part of your career to make sure that they're in the right place for themselves. But for the most part, kids will understand if you talk with them. Your family should be planning and talking often.
I spoke to a lot of colleagues. They're also saying like junior high, it's like kind of like when they're like their hormones changes, they may have rebellion, like they don't want to listen to you anymore, you know. Their friends are their most important part of their lives. That's why like by the time for me to retire, like my oldest one, she's gonna be in like kind of middle school, so we'll settle in San Diego for the most part when they grow up. So now you're living in Texas, right?
I am.
Do you like Texas, or do you like California or San Diego better?
Texas is my home. I love Texas, and they've been really nice to me. While I was still on active duty and trying to find a house, strangely, the biggest coincidence was I went to a town where a guy owned a restaurant. I told him I was active duty. I was stationed in Japan. I was trying to buy a house. He gave me my breakfast for free. A couple years later, he gives me a job working at his hotel. So yes, Texas has been very veteran friendly for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I graduated high school from here. I lived here as a young boy. San Diego is one of the best places to live. One day when I can afford to, I'll move back here.
So how often do you come back and visit here? Like
I was here last 2 years ago. I'll probably be back next summer.
Going to like the IT industry, like, would you be able to get work experiences from the Navy and translate it from the outside, or?
Very, very good question. As part of the rating, as part of your job, you have to get certifications to stay in the IT field in the Navy, and they immediately translate to life outside. Probably at the E5, E6 level, we lose a lot of people simply because
it's like you got to pay big bucks outside.
Other part about it is you must push for top secret SCI clearance. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if you never do IT again after that, the SCI clearance is big money.
Yeah.
I recommend pushing those certifications and degrees. Sorry to say this, you can get a bachelor's in computer science, but that does not mean you're going to have a job in the IT field. Certifications are everything.
For us PRs, we also have like the parachute rigging like licenses from the FAA.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I retire, I probably won't be doing any PR work simply because when it comes to the PR work, it's repetitive, right? It gets boring. So for me, I probably won't be doing any PR work. How old are your kids?
23 and 19.
Oh, wow, okay.
I raised them. You're going to go to school first. If you're going to join, go in as an officer immediately. And if you don't want to do that, I understand. But I said, eventually, discharge is inevitable. We all get out. So how do you want to get out, and what rank do you want to be when you get out? Because that does play a big difference in how your life is afterward.
Are they going to join the military later, or
I've told them that the military is the cheat code for life. I said, no one's going to shove you into the military, but I'm telling you, the perks are out there.
For my kids, the older one, she's outgoing. So I think she's probably like the type of candidate that the military is looking for. And then her initial is EP, right? So I was like, hey,
that's right. EP sailor, that's right.
Yeah, I know. They had my GI Bill, so same plan, like, hey, go to college first, and then you can join as like an officer. It depends on whatever you would like to go to. So as a veteran, what tips do you have for those that's in the military or in the Navy that before they get out, what would you share?
Two things, the biggest things. First of all, we, the American people, and all the veterans who've been in for a while and then got out, no matter how we got out, we think the world of you guys. We want you to keep on pushing through your challenges. We don't want to lose anyone to suicide. We understand our job is one of the hardest there is, and combat is the worst test of life, and we absolutely think the world of you. We want you to stay with us. Second of all, this is also very hard on your health. Get everything you can documented into your record, into your medical record, everything you can. If you think you have back pain, go to medical, put it in your record. Knee pain, put it in your record. If you think someone just says, I might have heard you snoring, get the apnea test, get that put in your record. Just those things I've just talked about alone are about 70% disability on the outside. It's there for you. You were suffering through it right now. You deserve the pay that America wants to give you. We're a very grateful nation, so we want you to get all the benefits you can out of this. Whether you want to give your GI Bill to kids or a spouse, or you use it for yourself, please take advantage of all the benefits we have. There's military skill bridge, there's licensing courses that you can get for all kinds of things that are just offered to only veterans and their spouses. Please take advantage of it. We're all paying for it. You're earning it right now. So we think the world of you and want you to get what's yours.
Especially when it comes to, like, I know for aviation, right, we have to use hazmat, jet fuel, oil, hydraulic fluids. You're also exposed to noise.
Yes.
So these are like the things that it's gonna cost you, like, your health, like down the road. Like when you're early 20s, you probably don't experience much. But for me, I'm like 35, right? So sometimes I'm just walking around and I'll hear like a ringing in my ear. I was like, oh, that's the world famous tinnitus. Yeah, that's gonna be basically for my next tour. I'll be up for shore duty for the next 3 years, so we'll see. Another thing is I wish I knew this like early in my career, is that you can always transition to FTS.
Yes.
Right, FTS, especially for aviation. Like once you're in the FTS component, you don't have to worry about like ships. I'm not sure about like the ITs. Like you're probably the same, huh?
As I was aware of it, sometimes you could get billets where you might be gone for a long time and no one knows about it, like Naval Special Warfare support. Sometimes you're attached to a unit where, for the next 4 years, you might be overseas. 3 to 4 years, if nothing's going on, you find yourself at the house at noon. It all depends.
Yeah, it all depends.
But if you pick your jobs real wisely, you can find yourself in very rewarding, I'm not going to say skate jobs, but they're skate jobs.
Yeah, definitely. Choose your rate, choose your fate. It's the gold standard, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think of like the PACT sailor, undesignated sailor?
An undesignated sailor I talked to went to Iceland when that place was open, and he was teaching damage control and CBR to Navy SEALs.
Oh, wow.
He did it undesignated. Those jobs are few and far between. I recommend everyone who's about to join, you think to yourself 6 years from now, how much money do I want to make, doing what job, and where will I be raising my family? Okay, if you can't answer those questions, then you just giving the Navy a blank slate to send you wherever it wants, that's the risk you take. That's your gamble right there. Or you can take a few days to think a few things over. Do I want to stay in this town? Not really. Do I want to raise my kids someplace else? Sure. How's Miami? How about a party town like Boston or Seattle? Where do I want to raise my family? How much money do I want to make, and doing what job? Do I want to buy a house by the time I'm 30? Make the Navy pay for it all. Because they're going to get their cut out of you, you might as well get your cut out of them.
Yeah.
If I had known that, my life would have been different. If I had known that I'm going to travel once, maybe see a few things, maybe not travel very much, but I'd never be able to talk about where I went to, I'd have gone to CTI.
Yeah, CTI.
Okay, you got to really pick it carefully.
Yeah.
And once you figure out what it is you want to do, you're talking to your recruiter.
Yeah.
I got this job for you. You say, hold on a second, OS? You make a phone call to a certain base and say like, hey, do you have any OSs there?
Yeah.
No, thank you. Hang up and then say, I don't want to go OS. You know, I want to be in aviation. I love Florida. So there you are in Pensacola because you loved aviation. So if you want to be in San Diego or you want to be in Virginia, then yes, get on board a ship and have a great time with it.
That's a great point. Thinking about like what you want to do like 5 or 6 years later, you know, for me, like I just want to join, go to college, right? That's kind of my only goal, you know, but like, hey, I was only like 18 years old, fresh out of high school. What's your long-term goal from now on? Just relax, enjoying life?
Well, that cheat code for the military, I like to take my disability payments and I like to invest with them. I like to buy real estate. If you time things right, you work things right, you can just, I hate to say it, but I play. I drive for Uber, I talk with people all day long, and I travel to different places just for fun. I bought a house in Louisiana, I bought some land in Nevada. I just want to have a great time with it because, you know, if you think about it, the military presses so much of a life into 20 short years.
Yeah, accelerated your life.
It definitely accelerates things. If you time it just right, you can have a blast with it when you're out. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm still traveling, still going out and seeing friends. You know, my payments help make that possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the reasons that I had this channel up is because I like to share things I did wrong or things I did right, and then so people can see it. When it comes to like retirement and pension, like disability checks, right, things like that, it depends on where you live. If you live in San Diego, you're gonna have a hard time, right, just like living off that or retirement checks. But if you live in Texas, right, I think you're gonna be okay surviving with these paychecks. And whatever you do after you finish up your career in the military, it's up to you, right? Whatever you do, you find joy in it, not because someone told you to, you know, things like that. For me, I like to talk about money, right? Command financial specialist. I like to talk about money all day. There's one of the career paths later on is probably I probably get a job like at Fleet and Family, you know, just working as like a financial counselor, helping out junior sailors like not to get like those 35% interest rate for their cars and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like the more you know, you know.
Absolutely.
It's all about the more you know, and it helps as you grow. That's about it. Like, what do you think?
I think you're doing a fantastic thing for our sailors. And I think you're a good leader because you're doing something that's bigger than yourself for people who are coming up next. I'm really, really grateful for all you're doing. Of course, thank you for your service. In a way that you can hardly understand right now, but you will when you're out, is that I'm so very grateful for all you do every single day, all the sacrifices you made. I'm aware of those, and I understand you could have been doing anything else, and you decided to come work for the Navy. I'm so, so grateful. If you could tell all the people who are still in, our whole country, and especially our veterans, think that you guys are amazing, and we know that you guys do hard, amazing things every day.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we'll see you at the next video. Bye.
Nice meeting you, bud. Take care.
Yeah.